It's time for another edition of Live from Studio M on 105.5 Triple M. I'm your host, Jonathan Suttin. The yin and the yang, two opposite energies that can't exist without each other. Today's guest in Studio M definitely has that yin and yang thing going on. He's been making music for a long time, but also finds time to do something very opposite of the music business. We'll talk to him about his adventures on and off the stage. But first, let's hear a song from Trevor Hall, live from Studio M.
Hey little girl, why can't you sleep? Split into hemispheres, that's where we be. Yeah. You're with the moon and I'm with the sun. Yeah. But that is the magic, the balance of our love. But there ain't no distance, oh yeah, ain't no resistance, yeah. That's what you say, oh, call it on their way, yeah. But even though that's what we know, darling, it ain't easy. So I'll come running, girl, yeah. If you need me, that's it, if you call my name, yeah. But I'll be on my way back to you, yeah. Oh, if you call my name, yeah. But I'll be on my way back to you, yeah. Back to you, yeah. Back to you, yeah. Back to you, oh, yeah. Oh, I tell you truly, yeah. When you by my side, girl, they can't fool me. Like ocean and water, yeah. Like fire and heat. Oh, you can't separate it, yeah. That's what you are to me, yeah. One in the morning, one in the evening, one in the waking, one in the dreaming, yeah. But the opposites make it whole. Two parts of one soul. Rockin', then we roll, then we roll, oh, no. Say if you call my name, yeah. But I'll be on my way back to you, yeah. Whoa, if you call my name, but I'll be on my way back to you, yeah. Back to you, yeah. Back to you, yeah. Back to you, oh yeah, yeah. Over mountains, over water, all across this great big earth. I can feel it, can you feel it, yeah. This love always will come first, oh yeah. I'm coming back you, yeah. Back to you, yeah. Back to you, yeah. Back to you.
with him next here at 105.5 Triple M. Insert a commercial. Now we're back live from Studio M on 105.5 Triple M. Our guest today, Trevor Hall. And Trevor, let's just start off. Let's go back in time. Getting into
Not
music.
too far back.
Okay. Getting into music in the first place was your dad was the biggest influence, or what happened?
Yeah, my dad is a drummer, and so he had a bunch of instruments. We always had instruments around the house. He had a big record collection. As a toddler, I would, it was fun pulling records out and spinning them on the machine. So ever since I was super small, music was always just around, and my dad was responsible for that.
So was he in a band, or did he just have a drum kit and annoyed the rest of the family?
Yeah, he was definitely in a few bands. I don't know the names of them.
Oh,
but,
that was my next question.
Yeah,
they're always
God,
great names.
right? Yeah, I don't know, but he played with a lot of guys around where I grew up in South Carolina. David Wingo and Greg Russell. These are guys on the island that were kind of, the torch holders of music on Hilton Head. It was a small town, so they would do like regional stuff around the southeast, Florida and Georgia and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, did he encourage you to really get into music, or was like, man, that's the last thing I want you to do?
He just he didn't like push me into it. He was just supported me through it, and still does now very greatly. It wasn't like, you should learn some music. It's just there were so many instruments around the house and so much music that it was just kind of a natural thing. It wasn't like a choice. It was just like, oh, this is part of life, music.
Right.
So,
yeah. So, and brothers and sisters who?
I have a little sister, named Chloe.
And
yeah. She's not a musician, but she's a lover of music for sure, and probably one of my biggest fans.
So she can't sing, is what you're telling me.
She has a little voice on her, but it's her shyness, So when we were young, I was like, Chloe, you should sing, She would, I'd catch her in her room or something, but that was about it.
Yeah, okay. So the sound that you have today, what would you say? Was it from the collection of what your dad had, or how did you create this sound?
Well, the sound is always evolving, it's always, changing and going in directions, but the foundation of it, the acoustic kind of, foundation, I think was really just attributed to growing up in South Carolina. It was an island, it was very beachy. I was a surfer, so I was really into surf culture, and the music of surf culture, there's a lot of reggae influence, and then of course Jack Johnson came through, and Ben Harper, and those guys. It was just kind of the state I was in my youth. That's kind of what formed the foundation. I remember when I first heard Ben Harper's album, The Will to Live, I was like, that's it, So it definitely was attributed to, I think, growing up there and my love for surfing.
So are you a musician who surfs, or a surfer who happens to play guitar?
I'm definitely a musician who, first, I'm not the best surfer in the world, so.
But you haven't had the Jack Johnson situation of having 80 stitches across your face, right?
No. I'm super baby waves, mellow.
Right. Cool. Let's hear another song. What are you guys going to do for us?
This is another tune off our new album, Kala. This is a song called Indigo.
It's Trevor Hall live from Studio M.
She told me of that dreaming, told me of that mystic water, told me of that tree. Don't you be afraid, my child, don't you be afraid of what they say. I don't get that elevator sense so they can't fool you. Know it's hard to heart and don't let all the dark thoughts school you. Don't you be afraid, my child, don't you be afraid of what they say. I've got to go. Back to those skies indigo. Back to holy country roads. Back to what my sweetheart knows. I've got to play like a child in her lap. No defending, no hurting. I know the spirit's got my back. To the honor in the ocean, where your songs around and we were feeling the sweet emotion. Don't you be afraid, my child. Don't you be afraid of what they say. We were staring into full moon as a white poet. I could see the circle coming round like a big halo. Don't you be afraid, my child. Don't you be afraid of what they say. I've got to go back to those skies indigo. Back to holy country roads. Back to where my sweetheart knows. I've got to play like a child in her lap. No defending, no hurting. I know the spirit's got my back. I've got to go back to those skies indigo. Back to holy country roads. Back to what my sweetheart knows. Oh, don't you be afraid. I've got to play like a child in her lap. No defending, no hurting. I know the spirit's got my back.
Trevor Hall live from the studio, man, it's just like, if anybody's stressed, just listen to Trevor Hall, and then it's like, it just brings everything together. Now, did you really get a record deal when you were like 16? Is that right?
I was a senior in high school. Yes, I think I was about 17 or 18.
Yeah, so like at that age, I'm like, was psyched to get my like driver's license. So how did that like, what happened? Like walk us through a little bit of that and how overwhelming that must have been, I would think.
Yeah, well, for like my 16th birthday or my 15th birthday, my dad, he like surprised me and brought me to his friend's studio to like record a CD. And it was just super mellow, you know. We just gave it to like our friends and family, but we gave it to one of my dad's like best friends, who I call my uncle. Uncle Brad out in L.A. He was an actor, and when we gave it to him,
Do we know Uncle Brad? Is it going to turn out to be somebody awesome?
Oh, well, he is amazing.
Right, but I mean, it's not going to be
But no,
Uncle Brad Pitt or something.
No, just like casual. No, but he's an actor. He is an actor, and we gave him an album, and I was out there at a surf camp one summer, and he said, "Oh, well, you got to come and play a show in L.A." And I was like, "Absolutely not!" Like, I'm like I never played a show in my life.
Sure.
Like, this was just for fun, And so he kind of organized this little like mellow show, and it was super fun. He just brought his friends, but some, I guess, industry folk, were there, and they were asking stuff, and then, Brad talked to my dad, and he was like, I really think Trevor should like come out here and, go for it, And I was young. I was just like, whatever, let's go. Yeah, California, woohoo! So I went to this like boarding art school out there in high school, and while I was at high school, I would, every weekend I'd come down to LA and meet with people and stuff, and then, time went on, and I guess the buzz started to like grow around town, and then my senior year we signed a deal with Geffen, and it was weird for me because like all my friends were like applying for college, and I was like not. So, but I didn't know like, is this okay? Like, it was kind of confusing, but I was just on the ride, I guess.
For sure. But so then, since that time and over the last few years, you like take trips to India and things. Is it because that was to kind of unplug from all that, or how did that all?
Well, while I was in high school, I was always like a very, like, I guess, spiritually hungry person. I don't know, it was always like that. And when I went to that boarding school, I really got into like meditation and all these things. And I had this really great teacher who was like kind of taking me under his wing, and he would every weekend he would go down to, or every other weekend would go down to this temple off the mountain. And one day he brought me down there and let me, stay at the ashram for like the weekend, and that just kind of blew my mind. And from there, I was really getting into like Indian culture, and I didn't know how. I mean, I'm from South Carolina. Like the last place I ever expected was to go would be India, but that's just where I fell in love, and my heart just opened up there, and I was lucky enough just to travel over there. And it does, it was a recharge for me, but it was also just like gave me so much inspiration for the music.
Now, I don't know if you know the musician Greg Holden, but he has been here. He wrote the Philip Phillips song "Home." Actually,
Okay.
That's his song. He went to India, and he said the thing that was amazing to him about India was that everybody is smiling there, and no one has cell phones. Like everybody's pretty happy. I mean, okay, I'm generalizing a little too much now.
Well, I don't
India,
know, because
but
I think it's kind of opposite with the cell phones. Like everybody has a cell phone in India. Like the chaiwala, the rickshaw driver, like everybody. It's like the easiest thing to get a phone there. But
really? Maybe he was in like super poor era.
Maybe,
yeah. But
yeah.
he was saying that he would visit people who had nothing, and they seem to be so much more happy
Yeah.
than people here in the States who have everything.
Right. Well, I think it's, in our culture here, I think we kind of base our happiness off of external things,
Right.
and we're never going to be happy because everything external changes. So, India comes from a long, long, long 1,000 years of tradition of saints and holy men and spirituality, so it's just in their blood, it's in their culture that they know that happiness is something that is inside. And I think that just reflects so much when you're around the people, because, yeah, like you said, for us, we go there and we're like, oh, this place is so poor, there's so much poverty, but everybody's so happy, like where we come, you come back to America after India, that's the culture shock. You come back, you're like, God, we got everything here.
And everybody's
just so upset, it's just like the weirdest thing, so it was interesting.
Yeah, so do you still go back a lot, or have you been there a few times, I guess?
Yeah, I used to go every year, every December, January I'd go, so I've been over there maybe 7 or 8 times. But the last 3 years I haven't gone, so I'm getting like the India itch. I'm like, gotta get over there soon.
All right, let's hear another song. What do you want to do
Another
first?
song, we're gonna play a tune called Mama and Papa.
It's Trevor Hall live from Studio M.
Gotta open up, I'm going to be rising and falling. I'm going inside, have no fear. I heard it close like a whisper, and now I got it in my bones, dear. Oh my Lord, oh my God, where have you been standing there all alone? Eyes are filled with water, yeah. I'm falling down, yeah. A demon's now right here, out of town, 'cause mama's got love, yeah. Love, yeah. Yeah, papa's got love, love, yeah. Oh, 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 yeah. Well, that was then, and this is now. A time in big past me, good things around. Yeah. The river floods, the rivers flow. Yeah. The strings on my heart, well, they still pull. Yeah. Oh, we still here, oh, we still go. Well, all of those good seeds, yeah. Oh, we still sow. Eyes are filled with water, a falling down. Yeah. A demon still running. We're out of town, 'cause mama's got love, yeah. Love, yeah. Yeah, papa's got love, love, yeah. Yeah, mama's got love. Yeah, papa's got love, no matter where we've been, swallow up moon and sun, both eyes open in this day. Whatever you dreaming of, I'll be on right here. I can see it, I can feel it, I can breathe it, I say it.
Trevor Hall live from Studio M.
Let's get the band.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
Yeah, the band.
Let's get the band. So,
Yeah.
who have we got?
Well, we got Brian Lang over here on the bass and the vocals here. Yeah.
Where'd you find Brian?
Brian is interesting. We played a show in Orlando, like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago at this small little hole in the wall, and Brian was in the band that played before us.
You poached him.
I poached him, but no, it's interesting because we like met there, and then you know, the road, we just continued on, whatever, and then like a year later, my old bass player was starting a family, so he didn't want to tour anymore, so we held auditions in LA, and Brian walked in, and I was like,
Didn't I see you at Disney World?
Didn't I see you at Disney World? But so we met kind of, you know, interesting like that. You know, you played in the band before us. Doug Fitch is on the percussion set here. Well, this is nothing. This is nothing. You got to come tonight and see the real deal. But Doug and I actually went to high school together, in boarding school, and after boarding school, he went and studied at Berklee College of Music, and a year ago, I wanted to kind of simplify things in the band, and we were driving, my wife and I was like, man, I really I wish I had like some kind of like percussion player or something, you know, and I swear to God, we were talking like that, my phone rings, and it's Doug.
Whoa.
And I had never, you know, I hadn't like talked to him for a long time, you know. And I'm like, hey, Doug, what's up? We're like catching up. I'm like, what are you up to? You know, he's like, yeah, I'm just playing a lot of percussion these days.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. So,
pretty cool.
Yeah, so then he came over, and that's how that happened. And then
You better have a good story for the keyboard player.
I
These
know,
are two
right?
cosmic stories so
Right?
far.
Shoot, right? So this is Eric Robert back here on the keys and the vocals. And Eric, again, we were playing as a trio, Brian and Doug and I, and then this tour I really wanted to just add a little something, a little extra sauce, you know?
Sure.
But around LA, I was putting out feelers, I couldn't find anybody, and I was like, okay, you know, I guess Spirit doesn't want me to have, you know, keep it as a trio. But we played this tour last year with Michael Franti, the Soulshine tour, and Eric sat in on a few shows there, and I guess he saw us there. And then he reached out to my manager and said, hey, you know, I'd love to play with Trevor, you know, and here's my email, whatever. And time went on, we were playing as a trio, so it didn't work out. And then I told my manager, I said, hey, I really want to add like a keys player, you know, or something. And I guess my manager was in the airport in New York, and Eric was also in the airport.
Okay, this is cool.
All right, we're getting there.
Yeah,
We're getting there, right? And Eric like missed his flight, which he never does. He's always on time, you know, perfect. And so he's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down, whatever, wait for the next one. And he saw a guy with these guitars, and on the guitar case it said Trevor Hall, because my manager was carrying my guitar. Then he went up to him and he said, Paul, do you remember me? All this stuff. And so Paul reached out to me and said, you know, you got to call this guy. I'm like, I don't know him. Like, I don't know who he played with. And long story short, I was talking with another friend of mine who used to play with me, and I said, oh yeah, we're trying to look for another keys player. And he said, I only know one guy. His name's Eric Robert.
Dun, 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 dun.
And I was like, whoa. And now we just came together, and now we're just rocking so
That's
hard.
awesome. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So I read that your mom went with you to get your first tattoo, that she
Whoa.
drove you there, and that, what's the story though?
Whoa,
Is it,
you're like looking into it.
I'm checking up on
I'm
you.
scared. I was like 16, you know, and I was like, Mom, I want a tattoo, you know? And she's like, no. I'm like, yes, you know, so but I definitely asked my mom first. My dad was a little more, you know, I don't think my dad knew for like a couple years, but now he knows, obviously.
Yeah.
But she said, I'll only take you, Trevor, if you promise this is your only one. And I was like, okay, you know, and unfortunately, that didn't happen.
And what tattoo was it? A tramp stamp in the back?
No, it was just a tattoo on my foot, like just a design, like doesn't mean anything. You know, I was 16, I just thought it was cool.
On your foot?
On the top of my foot, yeah. I got a shoe on now, but it's, you know, it's nothing special. But time went on, and, you know, I don't know if anybody has tattoos, but, you know, once you get one, it's kind of like an addicting process. So,
Yeah. Does your wife have tattoos?
She's got a few, yeah. She's you know, she's way behind me, but she's got a couple.
She doesn't have your face on her back or
I was wondering why that wasn't the case, but she's just for some reason reluctant to do that. So.
All right, so but before we get to the last song, the title of this latest album, Kala, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Kala.
So that's Sanskrit?
Yeah, Sanskrit is the ancient language of India, and Kala is a word that means time, right? So,
and that's inspired by your grandma, sort of freaking out
yeah.
or something?
No, so I was with my grandma like a year and a half ago, and she's, you know, in her final stages of her life, and I was just kind of going on a walk with her, pushing in her wheelchair, and she said, just randomly, isn't time such a wonderful gift? And I heard it, and I kind of, you know, whatever, I just kind of wrote it off, but the last year and a half, those lines were just kind of coming back like mantra in my brain, and it was interesting for me because ever since I was, you know, a young boy, I've always been pressured by time. It was just kind of like an anxiety, you know, and I think growing up in, especially this kind of Western culture where, you know, everything is quick for us and we kind of lose our ability to just sit and be patient or watch the seasons or stuff like this. I always felt like I needed to figure everything out and, you know, get it done, you know. And it just was really just horrible pressure. So when she said that, it really kind of showed me the other side of the coin. And I started to look at time more as, you know, breath and growth and a cycle rather than kind of a straight line, you know, there's a beginning and an end. And so all the songs, indirectly or directly, were just kind of inspired by that one line and just my meditations on time as that spirit rather than this mechanical kind of tick-tock thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll take a lesson from that, I think, probably.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, though.
Yeah, I'm still working on it. Yeah.
All right, well, so what do you want to finish up with today?
We'll finish with a tune. There's a tune called Good Rain. This is a kind of older tune here. Fun tune, yeah.
It's Trevor Hall live from studio.
If there's a hole in the soul, you better fill it. If your cup is overflowing, don't spill it. You better hold it while the whole world's spinning all around it. When your eyes look down on another, just remember that he's your own brother. This kind of love ain't gonna go under. I found it. But when you love one another, all the good rain comes down. Yeah, alright. And if you feel like you stop learning, if the wood in the fire ain't burning, you better spark another man, stop turning your wheel again. You better turn it towards righteous living. Stop taking and start your giving. Yeah, this is the one thing missing. I feel it. The loving one another is the only thing real. Yeah. Don't let your blessings turn into storm. And that time of living will leave you all alone. need a spark healing. Yeah, the first step is when we stop believing it's real, yeah. And this is the one thing missing. I feel, Lord, I feel that loving one another is the only thing real, yeah.